Welcome, focus learners, to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because, well, we're tackling one of the most frustrating barriers in all of chess. If you've been stuck at that dreaded 1200 ELO plateau, staring at the board and just wondering how the masters seem to effortlessly find the right moves while your clock relentlessly ticks down, you are in the exact right place. Today, we are breaking down the Grandmaster's Blueprint. We're going to learn exactly how to construct a structured thinking process that fundamentally changes how you view the board, turning overwhelming chaos into crystal clear strategy.
Let's be totally honest with ourselves for a second. Are you just sick and tired of throwing away perfectly winning positions? Yeah, we've all been there. You look at the board, a flashy tactical strike catches your eye, and boom, you immediately start calculating it 5 moves deep. You completely ignore what your opponent is doing, you ignore literally the entire other side of the board, and suddenly, you blunder a piece. It's the most common, heartbreaking amateur habit in the game, randomly calculating the very first move that pops into your head without understanding the whole board. But hey, we're gonna fix that right now.
So here's our roadmap for today. Number 1, the trap of random thinking. Number 2, the 5 position evaluation steps. Number 3, how to always choose candidates. And number 4, the final check before moving.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the trap of random thinking.
We're looking at 2 massive traps here that basically everyone falls into. On one side, you've got the amateur plunge. A move catches your eye and you dive deep into the calculation. You hit a dead end, surface, spot another move, and dive right back in. 20 minutes later, your clock is bleeding, you're mentally exhausted, and you never even looked at the third and actually often the best option. On the flip side, we have engine bias, which is a concept discussed by Grandmaster Noel Studer. When reviewing games, like 99% of players switch on Stockfish, see a plus 1.5 score, nod their heads like they totally get it, and just move on. But honestly, seeing that score doesn't help you at all unless you understand why the move is good and how to actually find it yourself over the board. We absolutely have to break these habits.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 5 position evaluation steps. Okay, this is the secret sauce. This is the exact mental checklist used by world champions like Magnus Carlsen to assess a complex board in literally seconds. You want to know how to evaluate positions in 5 effective steps? Here it is. You check king safety, piece activity, material balance, pawn structure, and finally, immediate threats. By routinely scanning these 5 steps, you stop guessing and start measuring. Studies actually show that using a structured checklist like this can improve your evaluation accuracy by a whopping 40% because it forcibly pulls you out of tunnel vision. You're no longer just staring at the one piece you want to move, you're reading the whole story. Make it a habit to start every single turn by giving a quick mental score to these 5 categories.
But here is the wildest part about Step 1. As Grandmaster Mauricio Flores-Rios points out, king safety does not negotiate, period. Every other advantage in chess is negotiable, right? You might happily sacrifice a pawn to open up some lines or willingly give up space for a rock-solid defense. But if your king is getting checkmated, it does not matter if you have a +5 material advantage or even 3 extra queens on the board. An exposed king overrides absolutely everything else. It's the single feature of a chess position that can end the game all by itself.
So how do we evaluate king safety on the fly? You run through a rapid-fire mental checklist. Is the king castled? Is the 3-pawn shield in front of it intact? How many defenders are nearby versus how many attackers? Are there open files pointing like loaded guns right at your king? And does the king have Luft, an escape square to prevent a sneaky back-rank mate? Just remember this golden rule. Every single time you push a pawn in your king's shield, you manufacture a permanent weak square, a hook, that your opponent can desperately use to rip open a file.
Right, so once you know your king is safe, we look at the pieces. And this brilliantly illustrates a core truth of chess. Piece activity is infinitely greater than raw material. Beginners tend to obsess over the raw material point count, but a well-placed piece is worth its weight in gold. Actually, think about a knight securely planted on an advanced central outpost. It becomes an octopus knight, its tentacles radiating power across 8 critical squares, totally paralyzing your opponent. That highly active octopus knight is frequently way more valuable than a passive rook stuck all the way back on its starting square, regardless of what the standard mathematical point system tells you.
Next up, we evaluate the skeleton of the position, the pawn structure. As Jeremy Silman famously taught with his imbalance technique, pawns are the fundamental terrain of the battlefield. They literally dictate your long-term plans. You're looking for passed pawns that can sprint to promotion. You're looking to target your opponent's weak,
isolated or doubled pawns. You evaluate pawn chains to see who controls more territory. And a space advantage isn't just about real estate. It acts like a slowly tightening net, suffocating your opponent's pieces until they have absolutely no good squares left to move to.
Which brings us to Section 3, how to always choose candidates.
Now, this is arguably the most useful piece of chess thinking technique ever put into words, candidate moves. Popularized by Alexander Kotov back in the 1970s, this is a total secret weapon. It's simply a short list of 2 to 4 promising moves that you identify before you calculate anything deeply. Listen carefully to this. The difference between a 1400 rated player and a 1900 rated player is rarely their raw calculating power. No, the difference is simply knowing how to always choose the best candidates to consider in the first place.
And that brings us to a mantra you absolutely must memorize and strictly follow: breadth before depth. When a critical position arises, you have to spend the first 30 to 60 seconds doing absolutely nothing but listing out those candidate moves. No calculating, no going down random rabbit holes, just collecting. Force yourself to sit there and say, okay, my candidates are X, Y, and Z before analyzing a single line. This prevents you from missing better options, it manages your clock brilliantly, and man, it saves you massive amounts of mental energy for the endgame.
Okay, but how do you actually generate this short list over the board? You follow a strict priority order. You always start with forcing moves, checks, captures, and direct threats. You evaluate these first because they constrain your opponent's replies, completely limiting their options, and they hide the most immediate game-winning tactics. Once those forcing moves are thoroughly checked and out of the way, then you look at positional improvements, asking yourself, how can I improve my absolute worst-placed piece? And finally, prophylaxis, asking, what does my opponent want to do, and exactly how do I stop it in its tracks?
And finally, Section 4, the final check before moving.
The blunder check. You must ask yourself one absolutely critical question right before you move. What does this move allow my opponent to do? This is your ultimate safety net. You've gone through the 5 effective steps to evaluate positions, you've figured out how to choose the best candidates, you've selected your move, and you think it's brilliant. But before you physically reach out and touch that piece, you run one final scan. Does this move suddenly undefend a critical square? Does it walk right into a sneaky knight fork? Does it block my own king's escape square and allow a backrank mate?
Grandmaster Mauricio Flores-Rios literally calls this exact process the cheapest rating improvement in chess. Because a massive share of decisive mistakes at the club level aren't due to incredibly deep, complex miscalculations. No, they are simple, one-move oversights committed in positions the player actually understood perfectly. I mean, think about how agonizing it is to play a brilliant, flawless 40-move game only to hang your rook on move 41 just because you didn't sit on your hands for 10 extra seconds. Taking that brief pause to run this final blunder check is the easiest, most direct way to instantly boost your rating and stop throwing away winning games.
So, there you have it. We've completely dismantled the trap of random calculation. We've learned how to evaluate positions in 5 effective steps, figured out how to always choose the best candidates using Kotov's method, and locked the whole thing down with the blunder check. You now have the Grandmaster Blueprint right in your hands. I want you to leave this explainer, go open up a game, and apply this structured thinking immediately. Look closely at your very next game. Which of these 5 evaluation steps is going to save it? Get out there, trust the process, and I'll see you next time.